Hi folks, Mark Merrill with Firm. Today's program is about Mills' anti-ICE bill. Still can't overrule federal immigration laws. No matter how hard she tries, or doesn't really. She's the worst governor in Maine history as far as I'm concerned. For the past 11 months, Maine Governor Janet Mills has been fuming. Flustered against all federal laws and regulations, long before Donald Trump regained leadership of the Republican Party the second time around, mostly because of emotional hate and attempted violence against our own Maine citizens. Now, here's Mills' latest attempt to stop ICE agents and officers from detaining illegals and clean up blue state governments like Maine, Illinois, California, and New York. What do we have? The representative on the Republican side here in the state of Maine from a Barbara Bagwell from Windham. Bagshaw. Representative Barbara Bagshaw. Now, this is what Mills is proposing. Like you heard. She wants all law enforcement officers, as we'll read it in detail from the summary of the LD-1971 bill. Not only that, folks, she plans to turn Maine into a sanctuary state after January 1st, 2026. You ready for that? I don't think anybody is. Be a complete whorehound. I'm going to call her that. It's all about her. It's all about being an enemy of the federal government only because Donald Trump is president. That's it. You and I, among all 1.4 million people in the state of Maine, are left out in the cold, so to speak. Tax bills. Let CMP do whatever they friggin' want. Public Utilities Commission is an absolute joke. The ACLU kowtows to Janet Mills, nobody else. There are no laws in this state as long as she's the governor, and Bellows, and Andrew Fry, Aaron Fry, and Troy Jackson, and the former speaker, Sarah Gideon, now in the hands of not dry behind the ears moron Ryan Fecto. Heard enough? Here's the nasty part, folks. It's not good, but we can turn it around, we the people. Stay with us. fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. Anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Representative Barbara Bagshaw, that's Bagshaw, by the way. We apologize for mispronouncing of the name. Barbara Bagshaw posted this on Facebook after the summary posted by Janet Mills about what she's going to do, and there's nothing we can do about it. Attitude. If you read LD 1971 and look at the bill summary, Mills allows anti-ICE to become law without her signature. The bill is sponsored by Somali Representative Deka Dalak to become law without her signature. A Muslim. And actually, Somali. She had previously, it says, put the bill on hold, and the bill 1971, that's LD 1971, and we can show you a website, and we will post a website as to where you can find it and read it for yourself, folks. But you deserve the truth, as is always with Firm, truth, facts, reality, and common sense. But it prohibits local law enforcement from detaining a person for immigration enforcement and prohibits state employees, get this, from inquiring, even asking questions into the immigration status of individuals. just having a conversation with them on the phone. You seek any kind of violations of the Bill of Rights, especially the First Amendment and freedom of expression, freedom to have a conversation without being wiretapped? Nope, don't see one. First Amendment, all the way through the 10th, was not written that way. They didn't have to know about technology as far along as it's gotten into the 21st century, folks, the founding fathers I'm talking about. They didn't need to know that. It's plain and simple. Right to today, but oh no. A lot of the left and the radicals especially, like the Somali there, Ms. Representative Deka Dalak, she can go shove it. You come to this country, you better damn well know how to speak English and speak it well enough so people understand what the hell you're talking about. Not to mention, throw your Muslim and your rhetoric, religions, on top of us. Enough! But on top of that, Janet Mills decided to go ahead and throw Paul LePage under the bus. What? She vetoed a LePage-era executive order that created enhanced cooperation between local officials and ICE also. So yours truly, we've posted on that on December 18th, the same day it got posted. Mills must have cobwebs in her brain and soul, stopping ICE officers from doing their jobs here and revoke a LePage executive order for the safety of Maine citizens? Tyrannical and treasonous witch. Can't we burn her at the stake like the Pilgrims used to do and we be over this? So here's the rest of it, folks, as we continue on for Mills' anti-ICE rage. And her bill of LD-1971 still can't overrule federal immigration laws. It's not going to happen. You think Tom Homan is going to say, oh, hold on there, boys. Hold on. Let's stop right here at this sign. It says, no ICE officials, officers, or DHS federal authorities allowed beyond this point. All right, boys. Kick it down. Let's move in. We know where we have to go. That'll be the answer. So here it is, folks. And we will make sure, like I said, to have a link right for this. And the best thing you can do, folks, is to read the summary that I'm reading. Just corroborating. LD-1971 prohibits local law enforcement from detaining a person for immigration enforcement. The bill enacts provisions to clarify the relationship of state and local law enforcement agencies, including correctional facilities and state employees, with federal immigration authorities. The bill prohibits a law enforcement agency from stopping, investigating, interrogating, arresting, or detaining a person for immigration enforcement purposes, including, damn it, in response to a hold request, immigration detainer, or administrative warrant issued by the United States Department of Homeland Security, or allowing the United States Department of Homeland Security access to inmates or inmate information of providing law. Also, providing law enforcement agency resources or personnel to assist immigration enforcement activities. No, banned by her. Clarifies that a law enforcement agency, upon a request from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, may arrest and detain a person and perform other law enforcement duties due to suspended criminal activity or other reasons solely, not solely based, let's get that right, to perform other law enforcement duties due to suspended criminal activity or other reasons not solely based on the person's immigration status. Even if it's got nothing to do with their violations of immigration status. Do these people actually have a life? Do you, Mills? We already know you don't have a heart and soul, but God only knows what your personal life is like. Do we want to get down and dirty with that? We'll let you people decide that. fairnessandreportingmedia@gmail.com, anytime. Inquiring minds should know about the people they're voting for, especially with this witch wanting to go and take over Susan Collins' Senate seat. Have 6 more years of her? Think about it. Little bit more, folks. I know, if you can stomach it. LD-1971 establishes the permissible scope of collaboration of a law enforcement agency with a joint law enforcement task force, requires a law enforcement agency to release as soon as possible and detain no longer than 48 hours a person determined to be held solely for immigration enforcement purposes, and establishes duties and prohibitions for law enforcement agencies regarding immigration issues of inmates, including requiring the agency to inform an inmate of the inmate's rights prior to interview by an immigration authority and whether the agency intends to comply with hold requests and prohibiting an agency from restricting access to educational programming and good conduct credits or determining an inmate's custodial status based upon the inmate's immigration status, and prohibits state employees other than law enforcement officers from inquiring into immigration status unless the inquiry is required by law or necessary to provide the service sought by the resident. I've had enough. I hope you have too. This is Firm, Fairness and Reporting Media. Mark Merrill. In other news, folks, for our law-abiding citizens, here's a report, before we get to this one, on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at the Department of Health and Human Services. It's from overseas that could affect public transit buses, from the Epoch Times. And our reporter on the scene and on the spot, who records videos on a regular basis, daily, I'm not sure, but you can certainly check him out on theepochtimes.com. That's theepochtimes.com. Roman Balmakoff. Here's that report. Kill switches are found in buses, it turns out, and solar power inverters coming in from China. Here's Roman Balmakoff with Facts Matter from Epoch Times.
It turns out that many of the large industrial products coming out of China, things like buses, solar panels, cranes, inverters, things like that, are coming equipped with communication devices that can send signals back to China. And furthermore, some of this equipment is coming equipped with kill switches, meaning that these things can be switched off, sabotaged, and deactivated with the click of a few buttons by some communist cadre. Very cool. Let's go through it together right after you smash those like and subscribe buttons so this information can reach ever more people via the YouTube algorithm. Now, to start with, there have been a lot of videos online recently of people basically glazing Chinese electric vehicles. How good they are, how fast they are, how well designed and sleek they are, how luxurious they are, how good they are on power, and even how good they are on price. Basically, how they knock it out of the park compared to American EVs. Also, alongside those videos, there have been a lot of people criticizing the U.S. for not allowing Chinese EVs into our market because of a fear that it would basically collapse U.S. auto manufacturing. Now, that might all be true. However, there is another factor to consider here, which is that when you're dealing with a non-normal country, a communist nation like China, nothing is ever as it seems. Case in point, Norway is now finding out that the electric buses that they've been purchasing from a Chinese manufacturer have a back door installed, which allows them to be disabled remotely, i.e. by someone outside of Norway. You see, Norway, they basically set an ambitious climate goal, specifically that 100% of the new passenger cars sold in the country should be zero emission by the year 2025. And even though that sounds unrealistically ambitious, they've actually pretty much achieved it. Looking at data from the Norwegian Road Federation, in 2023, 82% of Norway's car sales were EVs. By 2024, it was 89%, and 2025 numbers aren't in yet, but the trend is obvious. If it's not going to be 100%, it's going to be close. Also, if we look at Norway compared to other developed countries, they are really off the charts. The graph right there up on your screen, it uses slightly different data that comes from the International Energy Agency, and so they basically combine EV sales with hybrid sales into one number. That's why the data is a little bit different, but the trend is the exact same. Norway is almost completely 100% electric. Now, the country was able to achieve this milestone by using a two-pronged approach. They penalized gas and diesel car sales with higher taxes, while at the same time giving electric vehicles a lot of government incentives. EVs were exempt from import fees, and EV users only paid half price on tolls, making EVs much more attractive to the end consumer. Also worth noting, Norway does not have its own car manufacturing industry, and so they're 100% reliant on imports, which makes the transition easier because, for one, imports can basically be taxed however the government sees fit. And secondly, it also means that Norway does not have an automaker lobby that could have pushed back against these EV policies. Instead, what Norway did have was the Norwegian EV Association, whose president was quoted as saying the following, quote, "Norway will be the first country in the world to pretty much erase petrol and diesel engine cars from the new car market." Now, amidst this general backdrop of transitioning to EVs, you had the capital city of Norway, Oslo. They took this ambition even further by announcing a net zero emissions policy altogether. And among other things, this meant that the city council was working to slowly convert their fleet of city buses to electric. And this has been a long time in the making. Back in 2018, Norway became the first European country to put into circulation articulated electric buses that were made by a Chinese company called BYD. And so that was the beginning, 2018. You fast forward to this year, and by early 2025, Norway saw 287 additional Chinese electric buses added to their fleet. These ones manufactured by Yutong Group. All right, just to pause here for a super quick moment, I'd like to introduce our sponsor and my own personal gold dealer, American Hartford Gold. Now, as soon as the latest round of tariffs hit, almost immediately, the stock market hit some serious waves, we could say. It became super turbulent, very volatile, and of course, these conditions don't just affect Wall Street. They affect all of us with our investments and our retirement accounts. That's why I want to introduce a company that I trust and I use myself to help secure my own savings, American Hartford Gold. They specialize in helping Americans move their assets into something tangible, something you can actually hold, physical gold and physical silver. Two precious metals that help me sleep better at night, knowing that I have a hedge against all those brilliant decisions being made over in Washington. Now, they have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They have thousands of 5-star reviews, and they make the whole buying process super simple. Your metals can be shipped directly to your doorstep, or you can transfer your current retirement account to a tax-advantaged gold IRA. And the best part is that right now, American Hartford Gold is offering an exclusive buy one, get one deal for my viewers. When you call them and mention my name, Roman, for every 1 ounce of gold that you purchase, you can get 1 ounce of free silver. And so, take advantage of this special offer. Either call 866-242-2352 or simply text Roman to 65532. That's again, 866-242-2352 or text Roman to 65532. I'll also throw their information. It'll be down in the description box below. This means that as of this year, roughly 20% of all the buses in Oslo were Chinese made. And these new Chinese buses, they were specifically noted to have been customized for local needs. Here's in fact how a trade publication called ChinaBuses.org described the modifications made for these buses sold to Norway. Quote, To provide citizens with a safer and smarter travel experience, Yutong has applied a series of innovative technologies to its vehicles. Based on the actual demand for safe driving in the European market and the requirements of EU general regulations, Yutong has newly developed intelligent advanced driver assistance technologies that meet EU standards. The adaptive cruise control system monitors the speed and distance of the vehicle ahead in real time and automatically adjusts the speed of the host vehicle to ensure safe and comfortable driving. Whether in highway cruising or urban congested traffic conditions, the system can accurately judge and respond promptly, making driving easier. A second additional feature allows the bus to actually brake itself. Quote, "The collision mitigation and control system further safeguards vehicle safety. When it detects a potential collision risk, it quickly sounds an alarm and, if necessary, automatically applies brakes, significantly reducing the risk of accidents. The vehicles equipped with this advanced driver assistance system demonstrate Yutong's unwavering commitment to the path of intelligent development." Now, one feature along this path of intelligent development that Yutong seemingly failed to inform Norway about was a backdoor capability that allows Yutong, or China in general, to shut down their electric buses at a moment's notice. In this article here, published in a Norwegian newspaper on October 28th, it was revealed that over the course of the summer, Ruter, which is the public transportation authority for Oslo, they conducted secret tests on 2 of their electric buses. They compared a Chinese-made Yutong bus to another brand that came out of Europe, VDL, based out of the Netherlands. These tests, they were conducted in underground mines, which basically act as a natural Faraday cage, and they eliminate all external signals coming in. And what these researchers found was, you can say, alarming. They discovered that the Chinese-made bus, through the use of over-the-air software updates, could be remotely disabled from within China, while the European buses were not able to be disabled. The researchers noted that the Chinese, they can remotely access software updates, diagnostics, and the battery systems, alongside with the ability to render them all unusable. Which, by the way, just rough, imagine having to be the local government official, having to tell your constituents that the fleet of electric buses that you recently purchased from China using tax dollars have a backdoor kill switch.
That pretty much enough for you there, folks? It should be for me. I'll tell you what, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. China is trying in any way they possibly can to make things worse in the free world. Even the Scandinavian countries like Oslo, Norway. Well, last on our program, as you now see and have seen for a few minutes there, folks, the federal DHHS Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. has a new vaccine advisory and has formed a panel with an update. And to wrap up our program on that, here's the details of it. Posted, I believe, let's take a look here, folks. I believe it was fairly recently, back on the 15th of December. So this is something fairly new. Under the beginning of the article, it's a panel that was researching vaccines and voted to recommend to the Secretary, Mr. Kennedy, to change childhood schedules. There have been quite a few developments recently on the vaccine front coming out of DHHS at the federal level. The new advisory panel recommends delaying the first vaccine that's given to many children, the hepatitis B vaccine that's administered pretty much as soon as they're born. President Trump signed an executive memo starting the process of aligning the U.S. childhood vaccine schedule with other developed nations. West Virginia is flip-flopping on the question of whether to allow religious exemptions for school vaccines. Well, it must be a Democrat governor. Right. There have been quite a few developments on the vaccine front. So basically, folks, where it comes from is in the particular details of it right here. The MMR vaccine is very effective at protecting people against measles, mumps, and rubella and preventing complications that are caused by those diseases. With more of the details here, folks, as it's just coming up here in our system. Let's see. Should be just another minute so, folks. So, for all Americans out there, especially with families, this was back from January of this year in 2025. Key points on measles vaccination, rubella specifically, it says, from the CDC. Of course, we don't have to worry about Mr. Fauci anymore. 2 doses of the MMR vaccine are recommended by doctors as the best way to protect against the measles, mumps, rubella. Children may get 2 doses of MMRV vaccine instead. Those vaccines usually protect people for life against measles and rubella, but immunity against mumps may decrease over time. There are 2 vaccines that protect against measles, mumps, and rubella. Both MMR and MMRV may be given at the same time as others. MMR contains a combination of measles, mumps, and rubella. 2 MMR vaccines available for use here in the United States. MMR2, that's MMR2, and Priorix, both are recommended similarly and considered interchangeable. Recommendations? Well, both MMR and MMRV vaccines may be given at the same time, as previously mentioned in that top paragraph. Your healthcare provider can give you more information about each and which to get. The guidelines are for children between the ages of 12 to 15 months, 2 doses of the MMR vaccine. 4 to 6 years old, 2nd dose. And older children, adolescents, and adults also need 1 or 2 doses of MMR vaccine if they don't have evidence of immunity. Doses should be separated at least 28 days apart. For more information, folks, we will certainly provide this link, updated under the auspices of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Secretary of that department. And once again, as always, folks, we are firm. Fairness in Reporting Media. I'm always your host, Mark Merrill. One more thing about the immigration thing, ladies and gentlemen, right here. You'll be seeing more and more of these signs around central Maine and around the country. Everybody must keep in mind to report illegal aliens. It is the law. Janet Mills is trying to undermine the law only because she has emotional hate and violence for Donald Trump. It's not a game, folks. Our lives and our children's lives, our grandchildren's lives, and possibly our great-grandchildren's lives are at stake if we do nothing. But if, we can't emphasize this one again, as we've done several times on our podcasts here on Firm, folks, if you would like to report illegal aliens, please call Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. They will need to know names, locations, either workplace or residence, and any other specific information you can provide at ice.gov or call 866 DHS 2ICE. In conclusion, folks, we are Firm. Fairness in Reporting Media. You can see all of our podcasts at any time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on YouTube, Twitter, or X. Please stay in touch and research the information provided. We'll have it posted shortly. As always, stay safe during the holiday season. Peace to all.